Welcome, I'm Dieter Manschura, manager and owner of the artelino company, artelino.com. We sell Japanese prints in weekly online auctions, and every now and then we also sell something that we describe as e-hon. What are e-hon? Well, I remember when I started collecting Japanese prints, and well, then the internet didn't exist yet. And it was frustrating reading in an auction catalog page from an e-hon or page from an album, something like that. Well, e-hon are simply old Japanese books. And well, let me just show you a few examples right now from our website, artelino.com. Well, here you see, well, this is the cover page. This is the binding just with the string, and this is an old Japanese book with a little bit of illustration here going over 2 pages and a lot of text, but only in black and white. Here another one, no text, just illustration. e-hon old illustrated books, and here we have an example of an e-hon using colors. Well, what you must know about e-hon, it's the same technique as old Japanese prints. There's no difference. You can call e-hon kind of old Japanese coffee table books, basically. The artists and the publishers, the artists who made e-hon and the publishers who distributed them, they were the same. And a publisher of prints probably sold more e-hon than single prints in the 19th century. On the internet, you sometimes find the word e-hon in one word, E-H-O-N, and sometimes you find it as e-hon. Hon is the Japanese word for book, and E is the Japanese word for picture or image. And the writing, the thing is the same, whether it's written with an hyphen or without. We should talk a little bit about the history of Japanese printmaking. The roots of Japanese printmaking, they come from China. China is the nation that invented paper and woodblock printing in order to copy text and images. In Europe it was different. It was manually transferred by monks in cloisters who copied usually mainly the Bible, but also other texts. Yeah. And when this Chinese printmaking technique came to Japan, it caused a boom, especially during the Edo period. The Edo period starting in 1603 and lasting until 1868. But of course, books, also illustrated books, were limited to the middle and upper class and to townspeople. Well, this changed by and by during the Meiji era. During the Meiji era, elementary school became compulsory in 1872, and then something became very popular, kind of soap operas in the form of such, in the technical form of such old Japanese books. They were called kuchi-e, and they are a collector subject for Japanese prints of their own today. These soap operas, this was about family and love and life in general, and they were very popular also among the common Japanese people. But the average Japanese could not afford to buy prints towards the beginning of the Edo period, the second half of the 19th century. So rental bookstores popped up in all major cities where you could rent such an old book, such an old novel, which usually was a soap opera story. Let's talk a little bit now about the techniques used for e-hon. Well, I already mentioned the printing technique, exactly the same as the printing technique used for single prints, as they are now collected by art lovers all over the world. And this woodblock printing technique, it required to carve a block in order to create text or image. And when you wanted to have such a colored page, you had to carve a block for each color. Later, during the Meiji period, well, this woodblock printmaking technique was replaced by and by lithography and by offset techniques, photomechanical techniques replaced woodblock printmaking. These old e-hon, they used a special handmade paper, and this paper is called washi. Washi has 100 variations, but let's not care about these variations now. The washi paper is obtained from the wood of the mulberry tree, and the washi paper is the result of a very laborious manual process, and washi is absolutely superior to Western papers. You won't believe it. And it's still made in Japan today. You can go to YouTube and can watch YouTube videos. There you can see how washi papers are produced. Another thing are the colors used for e-hon. Well, until so roughly 1860, natural pigments were used, which are obtained from minerals or from plants. And these natural pigments, they have one disadvantage. They fade under the influence of the light and the sun. But because, well, such e-hon, well, they were not exposed to sun and light, then usually the colors are kept very well inside these books. Then there's another thing I want to explain, that that is the binding. Let me see. I'll take one into my hands. I think this example is even by Hokusai. Let me explain that to you, a few specifics. Well, there you can we zoom in? Okay, well, there you see a string. The single pages of an old Japanese book is kept together by a string with 4 or 5 binding holes. Yeah, this one has 4. Usually always we'll see 4 or 5 binding holes. And another specific about old Japanese prints. Well, we Westerners would take it like that. Here the binding on the left side, and then the cover, and then opening the book. For old Japanese books, it's precisely the opposite. The last page is the cover page. The last page, you see, is the cover page, and you open it from the back forward, and also the way how Japanese read. They don't read from left to right in old Japanese books, but from top down to bottom, line by line, yeah, and they start from the right side and not from the left side. Next, I want to show you a specific kind of an old Japanese book, a kind of accordion structure. Let me show you that in an image, yeah. Well, there you see something that is called an album with an accordion structure. There are some other variations, but that's not so important right now. Collectors of Japanese prints call this structure albums, and they were the preferred format for picture books during the Meiji period. Well, these accordion albums usually have no text at all, or just pictures, images only. And in Japanese, they are called cho. Well, I come to the end now. And unfortunately, I have to conclude it with something a little bit unfortunate, unpleasant. Unfortunately, these old Japanese books, these e-hon, they are often dismantled by dealers, also by collectors, and they sell the single pages instead of the whole book, because by selling an old book in single pages, you can make a higher profit. This results overall in a much higher total sale compared to selling the complete book. e-hon used to be to exist in abundance, in large numbers, and for cheap prices. And therefore, this is now becoming more and more rare. By dismantling these old books, you destroy valuable cultural assets, so please don't do it. Okay, so much for today. Thanks for watching, and please take care of yourself and have a good week. Goodbye.